What's going on, guys? So in this video, I interviewed my buddy Dave. He's coached me on this thing called Essence. If you've been trying to grow your personal brand, trying to discover your unique voice, what kind of content to create, you need to watch this video, because without knowing who you are, you're just going to be an echo of what other people are saying on social media. You're not going to tap in and value who you are, what you're about, what your values are, what you like and don't like. How do you want to show up in the world? And if you're new here, my name's Adam Lucky. I've been running an online marketing business for the last 5 years, and I help people become freedom creators, which is someone that solves problems online, creates freedom for other people, creates freedom financially, freedom of time, and freedom of purpose, so that you can do the work you love, make good money, and help the world be a better place, right? So if that sounds interesting, subscribe, like, and check out my other content.
Yeah. So, I've been a coach now for, I guess, most of my adult life. I was coaching back when coaching wasn't really a thing. I got started in coaching because I was in the mortgage business, and I noticed that they were talking to me about their money to get a home loan. And I realized there was a lot of hard stuff that came up. I've been coaching formally, professionally for about 24 years. And so in that, my quest has always been to help people get to the core of what blocks them, right? Like most of the time, most of our barriers are internal barriers, even though sometimes there's external barriers that make things hard. You could have the absolute best coach, best consultant. They could give you the exact blueprint on how to do something. And if you've got internal blocks, you'll still find ways to kind of stall out or freak out and so one of the things that often comes up when someone's growing is imposter syndrome, right? It's like I'm doing the things, I'm actually being successful, but something in me is kind of shaking. And so my thought was, okay, well, how? And it's hard to put a finger on what that is. So there's a guy named Simon Sinek, and he did a famous TED talk called Start with Why. Wrote a book about it. And I went, yeah, that's true. You do need to know your why. You do need to know what makes you come alive. You do need to know what your purpose is. But I still was seeing people get out of alignment with that pretty often. So I dug in and inside. So Simon Sinek's thing, he has a why circle, and then he has a how circle and a what circle. Or I'm sorry, it goes why, how, what. So if you imagine a target, like a bullseye, in his diagrams, why is in the very middle. And so I started to ask myself and my coaching clients, hey, are there circles inside the why circle we need to talk about? And so if you think about it, your why is driven a lot by who you are, by your makeup, by what, so the question is, hey, if you want to really supercharge your purpose, ask the question, who am I outside of any role? It's a hard question to answer. Like, who am I no matter what I'm doing? Being a husband or a wife, whether I'm hanging out with my friends, whether I'm playing baseball or riding my dirt bikes or whatever, like, who am I regardless of what I'm doing? I challenge everybody on this call, like, try to answer that question. And it's a hard question to answer because it's like you're the fish in a fish tank, right? And it's like trying to describe the water you swim in. It's like I don't know. Like I'm me. So anyways, I'll stop there. That's kind of what I wanted to do to kick off our convo and get your feedback on that and see what you think.
Yeah, no, I mean that totally makes sense of like the who inside the why, and just it is a challenge. I know just for me personally, like being able to, I mean, I've always thought of myself as a self-reflective person, and I like all the personality tests and the Enneagram, trying to discover. Sometimes it feels so like far off. It feels so like ethereal and like hard to tangibly put into words and articulate. And then like, how does this affect me as a business person? How I'm showing up in everyday life. Like you said, it affects everything. So I'm just curious. Yeah. Like how. So I know we've coached together. Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah.
Well, one of the ways.
Oh no, I just know personally getting the coaching from you, like personally, it was just super practical, but also very spiritual. And it allowed me to put something in front of myself every day where I can stay anchored, where I'm living out of a place of identity, out of a place of flow, living out of a place of connectedness to purpose and who God has created me to be. And so I know I still use that stuff like years later.
What are your anchors? Do you remember what your anchors were then and what they are now, and have they changed?
Yeah. Yeah. So like the words that are like strongman and adventurer,
Yeah.
and that really it triggers me into a place of, yeah, like I'm here to bring breakthrough. That's who I am in life. Like I'm always pushing to the next level. I can use the strength that God has given me. In the natural, I like to be strong. So, internally, I don't like to back down from challenges. And then adventure, like that's how I see life, like life business. And I lost that for a while. Like business became about survival and not like fun and
Yeah.
adventure. So that really helps bring me back to that for sure.
I remember when you first talked with me, one of the things you were struggling with was you were going through a big business challenge and you needed to push through. And I remember you finding
Mhm.
that strong man and pushing through. I mean, like, I, I mean, that was a huge challenge you were facing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And as soon as you said strongman and adventure, I remember the moment when you got those words, and I got goosebumps all over. I'm like, so
Yeah.
would it be helpful for me to describe how we got to those words, not personally about you, but just in general? Like, how do you think that would be helpful to your audience to talk about that?
Yeah.
Like how did you come
Yeah.
up with strongman adventure? Did you just think of it, or what did we do? Right? Like,
Right.
um,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
one thing I
I'd
want
love
to say,
to hear.
okay, one thing I want to say for
It's a little
sure
delayed.
is that if you're wondering what your essence is, who you are, there are clues around you all the time. If you're watching a movie or you hear a certain song or you see a certain clip from a sporting event, whatever, or you read a certain poem or there's a certain speaker, like that's a clue that that person's mirroring something that's in you that you honor, that gets you excited, right? So if you want to know, like, well, who am I? Look around at the things that get you excited, the things that like stir you up, and then start to put words to that. So, like for me, my favorite movie is Good Will Hunting with Matt Damon and Robin Williams. And there's a scene in there where Robin Williams, this guy is on lockdown. Like Will in the movie, he is like totally on lockdown, and he's been abused and beat up, and he's just trying to figure out who he is. He has no clue who he is, and he's got this fake persona. And anyways, uh, Robin Williams just is like, and this guy's blown through a ton of counselors, but he's a genius, and they're trying to unlock him. And at one point, Robin Williams just looks at him in the eye and he goes, "Hey, all this stuff here, all this abuse," and he's showing him his file from when he was beat up as a kid and all of his jail and everything. He goes, "Hey, none of this is your fault." And the guy's like, "Hey, man, don't mess with me, man." And so, like that scene, I went, "What's happening there?" Like Robin Williams as a counselor wasn't doing anything. All he said was, "It's not your fault." And they'd spent several sessions in total silence, like having stare downs with each other. And so I'm like, why does that make me come alive? Like, why do I like, I'll watch that scene over and over and over again. And every time I still cry, I still get excited. And so what came out of that was the answer. I answered the question, who am I outside of my role play? I'm a safe place. I'm a really, really safe place. I'm actually safety itself. And when
Mm.
people are in my space, one way to describe who you are is like, what happens in your space? How does your space, I could be grocery shopping or hanging out, and people come into my space and they start telling me the lies they're believing. And then usually we end up talking about the truth, and it happens.
Mm.
And the more, and so who I am, I'm a safe person. And in my space, in that safe space, people give up their lies and connect to the truth of who they are. Right. And so I can do that right now. Like anybody listening to this, like you're in my space. You're in the strongman adventurer space. You got a strongman adventurer on this call. You got a safe dude here, and our space is a fertile space. So as you're listening to this, what's happening, right? Like what's like we're amazing people, and so are you. And so this is a cool space. So who you are is outside of any role you play. Think about what happens when people hang out with you. Like, what's the thing that, what kind of impact do people have? You can even ask people, hey, how do I impact you? Like, why do you like hanging out with me? You know? Um, but anyways, what we did with you was we sent you a bunch of words that describe people, positive human traits, 150 of them. And then you collected different words from different people, and they chose their top 5 words, and some of them told you why. And then we arranged all those words and we led you through a process And then we went up to God and said, God, what are all these words leading to? What do you want to say about Adam? And that's what came out. And it, it's the right thing. You know that, and you're much more than a strong man and adventurer. That's just something that taps you into a deep, meaningful part of yourself. Your essence is so close to who you are, you almost can't put words to it. But if you begin to put words to the thing that's wordless, if you begin to put words to the thing that has always been with you your whole life, and you can actually intentionally partner with that, it increases exponentially.
Mm.
And it becomes a core engine that gives you that energy that you need to push through the hard stuff. I mean, running an agency has got to be pretty rough at times. And the funny thing is that in the Bible, there's a verse that says all of creation's groaning for the revealing of you, right? It's groaning for the revealing of you. So if you dare reveal yourself to yourself, it's very magnetic. It'll start to come through in your messaging. It'll start to come through in every interview. It'll start, your copy will change. Like everything, it just starts to infuse it. And it's
so good.
It's right.
Yeah. Dude, I can testify to that. This is great because I'm just thinking of one of my buddies, my coach. He coaches me on some business stuff, and he's very much into your ethos, and like he's paved a good way. He's kind of like a forerunner in the business space, because a lot of business guys, they don't think this way. They don't think about vulnerability. They don't think about this kind of stuff. Like they're just very much bottom line analytical. And I'm saying he would love this conversation because he was telling me, just as an example, right, in marketing, he bought chickens, right? And like, that's what he loves. And like someone signed up with him because they saw that he bought chickens. And he's like, dude, I just knew you were my guy. You bought chickens. It's just like, his whole message was like, yeah, I'm just like, not afraid to share who I am. Like,
wow.
I'm like, dude, that resonates. And then for me, you're talking about movies. Like that is such a good telling, a good way to discover. Like I was just watching Harriet Tubman. Well, I forget the name of the movie. Have you seen that movie about Harriet Tubman, the slave stealer? She,
no,
back in the day.
Yeah.
Okay. And another one of my words is freedom, right? And it's like that's definitely a big driver in my life of throughout my whole, a thread there.
Yeah.
And that's what she was all about, man. And she would, in the movie, it's so cool because she would just follow God's voice. She would like fall into these like trances, and then God would speak to her and like show her the way to help rescue slaves.
Wow.
And one of my favorite verses is like, set the captives free. Like that's what we're anointed to do. And just recently that helped me tap into what I want to do. It's just like, God spoke to me through that movie. And because I've been trying to think of a name for my coaching program, I'm like, Freedom Creators. There it is. Boom.
Wow.
It just hit. I'm just like, Freedom Creators. Like we're the people that resonate with me. They value that I'm about freedom, and you get freedom by helping other people get free. That's, solving problems. Someone has a problem. They're a slave to that problem. You help them solve it. You can get paid really well and create an amazing online business and freedom for yourself. So
wow,
all of that, it's just like a chain reaction, right? Of like discovering that. And like you said, the more intentional you can be about articulating it, like, dang, you're tapping into some superpower right there.
Yeah. And then measuring it, right? Like this is all pretty subjective, a little bit woo-woo stuff we're talking about, but you can get really practical with it. And that's where, when you harness the power of it, you have to you have to surrender to a little bit of mystery, right? But then like you can measure it at the end of every day. You can say, hey, what percentage of my day was I in my flow? Was I connected to who I am? Did I feel natural? And I've been measuring that every day for a long time, and I don't like the answer some days. Actually, a lot of days I don't like the answer. I'm like, it was like 5% of my day I spent but then it kind of creates this anger in me, and I'm like, dang it, tomorrow's going to be better. I'm not going to spend another day out of being connected to my essence. Right? I'm not. But if you don't measure it, you don't change it, right? You just kind of, and if you go several weeks being disconnected from who you are, man, you can feel it. It's like your life is just draining before your eyes, and you're wondering what the heck happened. There was a guy I coached, and he's a famous music producer, songwriter guy. And he got referred to me by a guy down in LA, and I didn't know he was famous. And I'm like, all right, well, what you got going on? He goes, I got a creative block. I'm in my 40s, and I've got my own record label, and the business side of it is just beating me up, and I'm losing my creative edge. I said, well, who do you write for? He goes, well, like Gwen Stefani and Blake Shelton and the Jonas Brothers. And I'm like, oh, okay. Like you produce for them? He's like, yeah. I'm like, okay. He goes, yeah, it's really high pressure stuff, man. Like, you got to be on your game. And I'm like, yeah, I bet you do. So he literally told me I was his fifth coach. He said, I'll be a total to you sometimes. And he was kind of hardcore. He was pretty hardcore. So no pressure. He's like, hey man, if you can help me figure this out, hats off to you. But just so you know, I'm not easy. So I did the Essence stuff. He had some words like you do. One of his biggest words was friend. Like, he's like, he said, I have, the reason I'm such a good producer is when I come into an artist space, it's like we become friends, and I draw something out of them through that friendship that nobody else can do. And like new stuff comes out of them. He's like, I'm a friend, and innovation comes out of that friendship. I go, cool, man. I go, how much you been doing that lately? He goes, I'm not a friend to anybody right now because I'm so bogged down by my record label and the business side of it. So he got connected with his Essence. He started crying. And then he said, hey, I got to go. I got a meeting in Nashville with Warner Records. He goes, dude, I can't bring any of this stuff to that meeting. I go, I dare you to bring 1% of what we just did into that meeting and see what happens. Just don't let go of it. Don't put on your hardcore business guy hat. Like, just stay a little bit vulnerable. You don't even have to say anything about it. And he called me back after the lunch. He goes, dude, the head of Warner Records was crying at our lunch. I couldn't believe it. Like, it actually worked, right? So,
oh, that's good.
We ended up negotiating a contract with God. That's what he decided to do. He wrote out a contract. He said, this is God. I'll get more childlike, and I'll get more friendly again, and I'll take off my shrewd business hat if you'll protect me. And so he wrote out a contract, and he prayed it into, being, basically made a covenant with God. Like, I will let my guard down as long as you have my back. And then that year, he won Country Music Album of the Year. That year, 2019 was the year he did it. But so that's how powerful this stuff is, right? Like,
that's crazy.
We don't understand this fun little quirky things that make us us, like chickens. Like, they're the thing that actually make people want to do business with us. And if you bury all that, if you bury it all and you just are a sterile, you might help people make some money, but you'll lose all the juice in life, right?
Yeah, I know that's true for me. For a few years there, it's just all, like I said, it's all like survival and just all, not fun. Lost the fun juice, and I'm like, dude,
how did you get it back? I know you coached with me for a little bit, but what was your journey like to get it back?
Yeah,
because you had to get it back.
Right? Yeah,
to get your mojo back.
Dude, for sure. I had to get the old mojo. Honestly, it just feels like within the last year, like I had it, and then for a couple of years, kind of got lost the way again. And it's easy to get back under that scarcity mindset of where business is just all about providing, making money, and just becoming aware of that, really, like through other people God's put in my life and hearing them talk. Like one guy, the same guy I was talking about the chickens. Maybe he'll watch this. Maybe I'll send it to him. But he was talking about, he's like, no stress in his business right now. He's like, yeah, my business, like I do about 150K a month, it's like 90% profit, got about 0% business stress. And it pissed me off. Dude. I was just like, and inspired me all at the same time. I'm like, dude, the way I'm doing it is just stressful. And this is not working. So I had to go back and really ask some hard questions and like be willing to, like, for me, I'm like, dude, all right, I'm done feeling this stress all the time. I'd rather go broke instead of, feeling stressed out all the time. Like, I'm just not going to operate this way.
Yeah.
And then I heard this other preacher, he talked about this thing called sparrow faith, Jim Baker. And that was another thing in that season that really hit me.
Yeah.
And he was like, most of my congregation is just, they increased in their finances when they just like stopped partnering with that spirit of mammon and like fear and greed and like trusted what Jesus said of like, dude, you know, the sparrows, the birds, they don't toil or reap and they don't sow or reap but their heavenly Father provides for them. How much greater are you?
Right.
So that really hit me. I'm like, I just had to decide like, and honestly, I'm like, wow, like even though there's been harder times, the internal shift was the bigger thing. Because I just decided I'm just going to trust, like God's going to provide one way or another. I'm not going to give into this anxious, fearful energy. Like I'm done with it. Freaking done with it, dude. It's
wow.
done.
Wow.
And
easier said than
so
done.
That's helped. Yeah. Because it's like I've heard, you know, so you hear things before, but sometimes they don't land and they don't hit. But that was a huge part. And then just kind of restructuring the whole business. Like, what do I want to do? I'm like coming back to my core values of business should be fun. And the way I'm doing things isn't lining up with my unique abilities. And, you know, reading this book, 10X is easier than 2X by James Hardy, or I think that's him. But just, you know, all the right resources God will put in front of you to give you the right message in the right season to give you the opportunity to step into the next good things. So, yeah, I feel like those are the real core messages. Yeah.
We only have so many hours every day to work, right? Like, and then you want to have time with your family, you want to have vacations, and you want to do all this stuff. So like, I'm always looking at, okay, what's going to give me the biggest return on my investment for my time, right? So like doing this with you is, people would say, well, how much ROI you're going to get out of that? Like this, to me, when I do podcasts like this, I call it who time, because you draw something out of me. Me talking to you and knowing that there's going to be people that watch this that get to hear it. Like I automatically want to go deep into who I am and what I'm passionate about. And to me, if we spend an hour on this, this activity is a $10,000 an hour activity. And here's what I mean by that.
Right.
I mean, that music producer guy literally was starting to, like, his career was starting to go down, right? He's starting to freak out. Like, I'm not going to be relevant anymore. And he was thinking about giving up writing and just helping other writers. And I'm like, and he was literally trying to convince me, hey man, maybe my creative juice, maybe it was just there in my 20s and now it's not there. You know, I mean, he was really struggling. But once he spent even just a little bit of time remembering who he is, stating who he is, I call it who time. And you mentioned the anchors, like have a clip from a movie ready to go on a day, you know, like, and before you start your day, like watch the clip from that movie. I watch surfing videos because surfing makes me come alive. So I've got like a couple of videos that like I have on cue all the time. And if I just don't have it in the tank, I watch like 5 minutes of that video and I'm like ready to go. Right. So, or doing this, like I felt tired today when I woke up. I felt lethargic, but I knew this would be who time. And I knew as soon as I finished this podcast, I would like you know, so it's part of it is connecting to who you are. And then the step 2 though is immediately figure out who can I help with this? Like, who do I need to get around? If you're depressed, if you're stuck, the best thing to do is to get around people, even though it's the last thing you want to do. Like, and just, and just let your space, like let other people experiencing your space and enjoying you, let that feed that information back to you. Some of this stuff is so simple, we just forget to do it. And we don't give it enough credit. That's why I say it's $10,000 an hour, because I mean, how much money do you think it made him when his client's album went to album of the year on the country music charts? Like, I'm sure that little bit of time he was spending on his who time paid him back significantly. It's probably a lot more than $10,000 an hour, right? Because he was a busy guy, and he's busy writing this contract out with God. Like, okay, God, I'm going to try to be more childlike again, and the whole time he's doing that, I'm sure part of his brain's going, dude, you're wasting your time. You got clients you got to take care of. You know, like there's these voices in our head that say, you got to win, you got to win, you got to win, you got to win. You don't have time for this stuff, right? You got things to get done. And so it takes creating a positive feedback loop. Like, if you want to test it out, here's all you have to do. You just, every day, if you can invest 10 minutes a day, and you can break it up into 2 5-minute blocks. And this is all you have to do. Have a thing go off on your phone and it says who time. And all you do during that 5 minutes is you just kind of take an inventory and you go, am I aligned with who I really am right now? Or am I full of fear and anxiety? Or am I, like you were saying, that never ending stress of like, so you just, and oftentimes during that 5 minutes, all I realize is I'm jacked up. I'm like, man, I'm jacked up. I don't know how to fix this. I am stuck in some kind of loop right now, and my mind is freaking out about something. And then all I do, if I can't fix it, so I'll try to breathe or do some kind of centering activity, or I'll go outside and put my feet in the ground and just kind of look at the sun or look at the birds, But a lot of times 5 minutes isn't enough time to fix that. So I just throw up a prayer to God. I'm like, God, I am jacked up. You know all the reasons better than I do. I ask for help right now. And I'll do it again later in the day for another 5 minutes. And just those two, that 10 minutes, because if you don't ask for help from God or whatever your spiritual, center is, you ain't going to get it. Like, it's like you just, but when you're intentional and you just admit, hey, I'm jacked up and I don't know how to fix it. Just that alone, that 10 minutes has fixed so many days. I go at the end of the day. I mean, you ever wake up in the morning and you're just like, oh my gosh, I got a mountain to climb and I'm scared and I got to meet with this big client and I hope I land them. And if I don't land them, am I going to be able to pay my bills and, all that stuff. Right. And I mean, a lot of that stuff, neuroscience wise, you can't even stop it. It's in motion before you even get a chance to get on top of your day. So this 5 minute pause twice a day. And then if you're really jacked up, like I said, I'll have those anchors at hand. I'll just watch a movie or I'll have I have a whole folder with tabs on it now that has nothing but anchors in it, and I just call it my Who folder. And it's just I just go in there like I'm nice. On DoorDash for a meal. I just what do I need right now? Like
yeah, right. A spiritual meal.
We need to make this stuff really practical, and you need to have a quick way to interrupt yourself during the day, because otherwise you just go into autopilot, and next thing you know, you have 5 or 6 days where you're in autopilot and you're just buried.
That's so good, man. This has been good. It's been solid. I like good. The practical exercise people can take away as well. Good. And yeah, man, I think that's solid. Anything else here as far as what you wanted to communicate on this? Any other practical things or exercises?
I like really simple things that people can grab onto. So I thought of this, and I'll keep it really brief. It's one shift in perspective can change your trajectory really fast, right? So this is a shift. If your brain is thinking too much about winning and you're over focused on, I got to close a deal, I got to get more clients, that's fine. You want that to be a focus. That's a good thing to stay focused on. But there should be a thing that has a higher priority in that, and that is the word one, O-N-E. So when I prioritize my day, one is I'm in a state of oneness with myself. I'm in a state of oneness with my creator, and I try to make that the highest priority. So if I look at my calendar and it puts me in this state of like anxious, like I gotta win, I'm like, hey bro, you gotta chill. Like you're gonna win. Like if you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, you're gonna figure out a way to win, but you're gonna figure out from this calm place of oneness with yourself and alignment. So it's just flipping the priority from win first to one first. And if you flip it to one first, and it's also one with others, right? Like if you really love your clients and you really, really want to be, in a sense, one with them as far as aligning with them so that you can get them what they want, they're going to feel that, right? Like it's that old saying, like that they're not going to care what you say unless they know that you care about them. Like no one wants to hear what you have to say unless they feel like you care about them.
Yeah, that is huge. That is a solid, quick little mental thing you can use, especially, if you're going into a sales conversation, like you said, or even when you're writing content, you're creating a video or putting something out there. It's like, instead of thinking about what are people thinking about you, or I got to win, I got to make this thing amazing. I like that, man. I'm going to use that. Just be one with God and yourself, and then one with the person that's consuming, like helping them, putting yourself in a place of service instead of, it's just a total shift of energy, and people feel that. People feel that 100%.
And then you'll find that sweet spot where you overlap with them. And like with your coaching friend, it was chickens. Like this dude, just something about the chickens. He's like, This is my kind of guy. This is my kind of guy. I got to work with this guy.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%, man. That's
Right.
awesome. Do you have any resources, or I don't know if do you have a channel, or where do people connect with you?
The best way to connect with me, you can Google me, and I do public talks all the time. So I did one 2 weeks ago, and it's on YouTube. So if you type in David Charlson or David Charlson Coaching,
Cool.
I do have a website. It's davidcharlsoncoaching.com, and my last name is CHARLSON. There's no E in there, and there's no T in there. And on there,
Awesome.
you can sign up. I do a free bi-weekly call where you can just drop into a group coaching call and just kind of check things out. We have
nice.
a drop-in group that I've been doing for years. And then I do retreats, and there's more information on the website there. Yeah, for sure.
Heck yeah, man. Well, I appreciate you coming on. This has been a solid conversation, man. I know this message, this stuff is much needed in the world I'm in with these online business owners, and I mean entrepreneurship in general, life in general. But
yeah, for sure.
But the people I speak to will definitely value this stuff. So
good.
It's good, man. Appreciate you.
Thank you. Yeah, appreciate you too, Adam. Thank you.